Hello and welcome to Dharma Talk Tuesday. So happy to be here with you today and very excited for this topic, the topic of decisiveness. And I happen to know that this one is a particularly relevant one for many people who follow these posts, who follow my Dharma Talk Tuesdays. And so I just know it's going to make a big difference for many of you today. It made a big difference for me when I first learned the correlation. There's actually a correlation between being decisive and the way that you're able to manifest, whether it's manifesting money or manifesting a relationship. Being decisive is actually a skill. It's actually a skill. It's a skill like, Zen's on right now. It's a skill the way martial arts is a skill, and that's Zen's thing. It's a skill the way yoga is a skill. It's a skill the way building a business, requires certain skills. It's a skill the way, being a coach is a skill. So being decisive is a skill all in itself. And there are ways to train yourself and to learn how to become more decisive. And truly, I'm gonna break this down for you today. There is a big correlation between your decisiveness and the amount of money you're manifesting, the amount of opportunities that are flowing to you, and how big your life gets to get. And we're going to talk all about that today. So if you're new, welcome. I'm so happy to see you here. My name is Julie Surratt. I'm the host of Dharma Talk Tuesday in the Dharma Talk Tuesday chair at my house, as well as founder of the Dharma Circle, whose mission is to help people, specifically women is who I focus on, find and identify their calling, their inner calling, their purpose, which is the way to a life of harmony, peace, abundance, and fulfillment. And I actually have an event coming up, and I'm going to talk about that later. It's a retreat where we're going to do all kinds of fun things related to finding your inner calling and feeling the magic in your life, rekindling the magic in your life. But for now, let's talk about decisiveness, because I definitely see this as a relevant challenge for so many people who follow me, and I'm really excited to talk to you about it today. I want to give credit where credit is due. I really first started to explore the relationship between decisiveness and manifesting money through my mentor, Shanda Sumter of Hardcore Business. And she says something very specific. She says, money loves speed. So I just want to give her credit for that. She says, money loves speed. And I completely agree with that, and that's exactly what I'm saying. And I just want to add a layer to that based on my own experience and my own expertise, my own understanding. And I think what often happens for people when they're holding back on being decisive, and maybe you can comment below, and you can just comment and say, what stops you from being decisive? What stops you from making decisions fast? And in my experience and what I see is that people most often are held back from being decisive because they don't want to make the wrong choice. So they have a story or a belief in their minds that there's a consequence to making the wrong choice. There's a cost to making the wrong choice. And we all know that not making a decision is making a decision. And yet when people choose to not make a decision about something and they're kind of hanging out in indecision, what basically they're saying to themselves, consciously or unconsciously, what's actually happening is they're saying, it costs me more to make a decision than to not make a decision. And what I want to open up for you today is that it actually costs you more to be indecisive than it does to So let me just say this again. It costs you more to be indecisive than to hang out in indecision. It's the opposite of what you think. And the reason is because if you have a desire, and this is a big if you have a desire to make a ton of money, to manifest a ton of revenue, to create a ton of impact and opportunities for yourself and other people, if you desire to build a team, your lack of decisiveness at some point is going to turn into a bottleneck in your company, and it's going to slow down your growth. It's going to slow down the speed at which your team can move, and it's going to slow everything down. And what that means is let's look at it on a per year basis. You'll impact fewer people. You will make less content. You will have made you'll have made less impact. You'll have made less of a difference. And your team was stalled out. So it actually stalls out their inspiration. It stalls out their initiative and their movement and their proactivity because you're stuck in indecision. Whereas when you're able to be decisive, and you may have heard that phrase, make a decision and make it right. When you're able to make a decision and make it right, which basically means you make a decision, you get behind it, and you don't go into self-beat up, you don't go into beating up other people, like blaming other people, you don't go into victim. You make a decision, you make it right, and then you stand behind it, and then you go into solution mode on just making it work. You go into solution mode. There are things that I've invested in my business that did not work. There was a phase where I was someone convinced me that Facebook ads was the way. And yes, there are people who use Facebook ads and use them successfully, and that's amazing. But the person who supported me with it didn't work. It straight up did not work. And I spent like $25,000 on it between the agency and the ads, and it didn't work. And so that was like $25,000 down the drain. But I'm not mad about it. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't get mad at the person. I'm not mad at myself for making that decision. Entrepreneurship, especially, life in general, but entrepreneurship especially, is full of times when you make a decision and it doesn't work. But you have to manage your mindset around it. So I'm going to give you some tools today on ways that I manage my mindset so it allows me to get over those moments where things didn't work faster, and to continue to be decisive and to continue to just stay on it. There's some specific tools I'm going to give you. And also what I really want to do is ultimately shift your paradigm and help you understand. And hopefully you can even, comment below and share with me what's resonating with you, and think about for yourself in your business or in your relationship, where you really can see very clearly the cost of not making a decision. Yeah, Zen says self-doubt and second guessing. So think for a minute specifically right now, how this is relevant for you. Where in your life are you holding off on making a decision? Where are you making it okay to not make a decision? Where are you on the fence about something? And what is it costing you? Really get honest with yourself about that right now and have a self-assessment moment, because unless you're actually applying this to you and making it real for you and thinking about how this totally applies to you, then it may not actually jive, it may not make sense. But I promise you, every single one of us has a place where we stop trusting our gut, where we stop trusting our heart, where we go into second guessing, we go into not trusting ourselves or whatever, and we stop ourselves from allowing ourselves to just be a decisive yes or a decisive no. And then there's a cost to that. So I promise you, there's an area of your life where that's happening and it's costing you significantly. So I just take a moment to say hi, Nikki. Hi, Catherine. Hi, Shawnee. Hi, Chrissy. Nikki says, this is very much me when I level up and I'm not normally indecisive. Yes, so Nikki knows about herself, and that's called svadhyaya in Sanskrit, when there's that concept of knowing yourself. She knows that when she is in a place of leveling up, she gets a little bit indecisive. And so she's able to adjust her decisions accordingly. And maybe Nikki, do you have support that you bring in? Is there some kind of support system that you create where you connect with a mentor or you connect with someone who you really trust to help you make decisions? Or do you have, maybe you're like me, maybe you turn to your body wisdom to help you make decisions. I'll be talking about that today. And so I've got systems that I put in place to help me make decisions faster so I don't get stuck. Hi, Carrie. Are you back from Peru? Good to see you here. I've been thinking of you. All right, so let's talk about the systems that I use to avoid getting stuck so that it keeps moving. And can you see how, for me, for example, I am doing my retreats later this month, May 18th and 19th. I'm really excited about that, called Unleash Your Inner Calling. And before I locked in the dates and before I set the time, I was kind of indecisive about when I wanted to do it and where I wanted to do it. and I was between 2 different hotels, and I spent a few days. Now, keep in mind, a few days is not that long, but for me, for what I was creating, it was too long. And I eventually just needed to make a decision, and I eventually did. And I went with one of the hotels. I chose dates, boom, done. But in the days that I was indecisive, like, it was costing my call center team, it was costing them, like, Julie, we're ready. Let's go. Let's start impacting people. Let's start connecting with people. Let's go. You know, I've got a whole team of people who are reaching out to the attendees to provide them with a personalized customer service experience to prepare them and make sure they're ready and excited before they enter the room Saturday morning. And they're like, we're ready. Come on, you know? And so it's like, there are people who may not make it to this event who really need to be there, because it took me a couple days to make a decision on this. And for me, like, a couple days is a long time. For you, a couple days might look like a couple weeks or a couple months. Maybe you've been on the fence about something for a couple months, and just like compound that number more and more and more. There are so many people who are waiting for you to impact them that are missing out because you're not making a decision about something. So let's talk about the decision-making process. Hopefully now you understand the importance of making a decision quickly, and you understand the cost as it relates to you. And let's talk about the decision-making process, okay? So I really believe in making decisions from my heart and from my gut. And let me just also say too, I make decisions from strategy, but my strategy actually all comes from my heart. It's like it comes from my body wisdom. So like my entire strategy in my business and in my life, quite honestly, for this entire year and for the next several years, is something that I call it retrieved. I retrieved it from my heart, from my body wisdom. And so it's not like a plan that someone put on me and said, hey, you should do this, this, and this. Because I've had that too. And I actually became very resentful of that person, even though they were trying to help me. And we had to have a conversation about it. And she was like, I was just, giving you what I thought you needed. And I was like, I know, and I appreciate that, but I really need for this to come from me. So I took the initiative to do the hard work, to do the inner work. And for me, that looks like getting on my mat, getting deep with spirit, putting on my amazing, powerful music, going into my movement practice, where I can, I bring someone in to like hold space for me and like guide me, because it's just really hard to take yourself as deep as you need to go for this type of thing. And what I do is I retrieve the wisdom from my body, and that's how it all gets laid out. And that's exactly what I teach my clients to do. And that's exactly the kind of thing we're doing at the upcoming event at Unleash Your Inner Calling. So what typically happens for people is they go into the yoga practice and they have some kind of emotional release. They actually find it very emotional. That's very normal, because our limiting beliefs, our memories, our experiences, everything, it's all stored in the body, in various parts of the body. And there's different types of beliefs and experiences and memories are stored in different types of tissue. So, for example, your root chakra is connected to safety and stability and security. So beliefs around safety and stability and security are stored in your hip region. Your heart has to do with giving and receiving. So energy related to giving and receiving is all not just like here, but literally like in your shoulders and like your pecs, this whole region. And even like think about the back body. So your shoulder blades. So if you ever feel pain, like between your shoulder blades, or like sometimes I'll have pain there, I'm like, oop, what's happening with my heart? And then I do the heart work, the physical yoga practice heart work. And so what my clients do, and what I take them through, and what I take people through when they come to my retreats and my events, is these really deeply opening physical practices, and it releases blocks. It actually releases physical blocks. It does something to your biochemistry in your body, and it's this amazing, magical, unexplainable thing. But what ends up happening is people get up from their practice and they're clear. I had one client who was in the media and marketing world, and she was doing branding for someone, and she was like really wanting to raise her rates. But I said to her, I was like, I will give you price points, but honestly put it through your own body wisdom filters. So she got down on her mat, did her practice. She came up with a number. She offered that number to the lead she was speaking with that afternoon, and they said yes with no resistance, no objections, easiest sale ever. And she's like, oh my God, this works. Like I literally just need to get on my mat and my questions get answered there. And I was like, yeah, exactly. And it's powerful. And so you train yourself to take whatever questions you have, whatever wisdom you need to hear, and just take it to your practice. Now, what I see that as is giving God space to talk to you. When you're turning off your phone, when you're eliminating the distractions and you're just in the flow of prana, life force, moving through your body and clearing out your system and opening and making space for new truths to come in that are aligned to the higher will for you, to God's will for you, you receive God's will. And ultimately, my prayer for myself is that I do have God's will for me over and above my own will for me. That's my prayer for me, and maybe that's the prayer for you too. And so if you think about that, like if I try to make decisions from logic or from my will for me without doing that inner work, I probably won't make very good decisions, or maybe I'll make very limited decisions based on my comfort zone or what feels safe, as opposed to God's will for me, which is a lot bigger than what I can see for me. And I'm able to access God's will by clearing the blocks, making space, and sometimes what I'll do after that is I'll do a long meditation after my practice to just, tune my receptors, like turn on my pineal gland, turn on my receptor, receive, receive, receive. Oh, there it is. And then I receive the clarity. And I know I make it sound really easy. It's not always super easy. Sometimes it takes a little bit of diligence, but it becomes easier and easier. Like I said, it's a skill. Like anything, it becomes easier with practice. So when you think for yourself what it would be like to be able to be really decisive, what would the benefit be to you in your life as you imagine yourself becoming decisive? Like what would that make possible for you? And what do you see that as applying to in your life? You think about relationship. There was a time, you heard me talk about it perhaps in my interview with Gladys yesterday. The replay's on my page if you want to go check it out. She was my love coach a couple years ago. And before she got a hold of me and helped me out in my relationship, I was very 1 foot in, 1 foot out in my relationship. And it is honestly, in the context of relationship, so exhausting to be indecisive. It's very exhausting to be 1 foot in, 1 foot out, because you're actually putting your energy towards assessing. You're assessing every single day. Is this person for me? I don't know. He did that the other day. I didn't really like that very much. Oh, but he did that the other day. I mean, what an energy drain. Why not just be in a relationship and be like, yes, 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 and be all in, be invested, and have that be it. You know what I mean? Like, have it not be this inner debate, but to have it be. And so what ended up happening was I went all in. Well, we broke up, and then we both chose to be all in. And so now if things come up where we feel frustrated or challenged, we talk about it, and then we're all in. We're always all in, and so what that does is it leaves space for other energy to happen in my life, to grow my business. Or for example, I healed my relationship with my family this past year. I'm able to do other bigger things because that area doesn't have energy leaks of indecisiveness towards it. Your business is the same way. Your family is the same way. It's all connected. So, yes, Chrissy says, body wisdom. Hello, Kathy. So good to see you. Jen says, decisive yes or decisive no. Love this. So I'm happy that resonates. Nikki says her system is this. I tune in with your lives and, my Facebook lives, thank you, and meditate and listen to my body. It's a work in progress and I'm getting better at it. Thank you. Good. Carrie says she's back from Peru, back in Missouri, my home state, and it was epic. I'm sure it was absolutely magic and miracles, Carrie Stanley, magic and miracles. So if you have questions about what I'm talking about, comment so I can answer them for you. If you resonate with what I'm talking about, give me some hearts and likes. And so I know that you're picking up what I am putting down. And what I'll also say is this. On Friday, this coming Friday at 12 o'clock Pacific, I'm doing a live in the Dharma Queens Facebook group, which if you're not a part of, I will post that link here on this Dharma Talk Tuesday. And what I'm going to be talking about is what's called intuitive discernment. So I'm going to be taking this topic even deeper, and I'm going to be talking about how can you tell the difference between God's voice guiding you and your fear voice, because that's one of the things that I see people really struggling with on this topic. They're like, yeah, I'm hearing a voice and it feels like I should pull back. God would never tell you to pull back. And so I think people really get confused sometimes on what God's trying to help them do and what their fear voice is coming through and saying it thinks it should do. And really that fear voice is just, it's like your inner little girl trying to keep you safe. And you were not born to thrive. You were born to survive. And I mean that from like an evolutionary standpoint. Like it's advantageous for your body, for your ego to keep you alive. But thriving requires risk. It requires getting way outside your comfort zone. It requires doing things you would never say yes to if you're committed to comfort. And so thriving requires big decisions like that. And so like if you're committed to being comfortable and you're making decisions off of that, I promise you that's not God's will for you. It's just not. And so this would be the training for you to tune into on this coming Friday, 12 o'clock Pacific in the Facebook group. It's going to be about an hour. Of course, I say that in the last live stream was like 90 minutes. So it may be a little bit longer if I get on a roll. You know me, sometimes I get excited and I just go and I go and I go. Nikki says, I love your lives. Thank you. You are so welcome. Hi, Terry. Thanks for joining us. Good to see you. So like I said, I'm going to post the link for the Dharma Queens Facebook group here. So if you already have access to the Facebook group, perfect. You're good to go. All you need to do is set an alarm to tune in for 12 p.m. Pacific on Friday. And if you need access, all you have to do is click the link. It is a women's only community. So sorry, guys. And, if you're wondering if there will be a replay, if you're like, oh shoot, I've got another commitment. Yes, there will be a replay. It will be up until Monday evening in the Dharma Queens Facebook group. So don't plan on watching the replay. In my experience, live trainings have a very different energy than recorded trainings. So anytime you can watch the live, it always is advantageous. So Chrissy says, why is it easy for men to make decisions quickly? I feel like we women overthink every decision before it gets made. Christy, that's a really good question. And I'm going to give you my answer, and someone else may have a different answer, but my answer is this. It kind of comes back to the way that women and men are wired. We're wired differently. So men have focused awareness and women have diffuse awareness. And Alison Armstrong really talks about this. She's a good one to look into if this is interesting to you. And basically what that means is like, it's one of the reasons why women are better multitaskers. Like if Matt is picking out dinner for us and I have a question for him about something, I know not to ask him the question about the thing that I'm wanting to ask him about until he's done picking out dinner, because he can only do one thing at a time. And it's actually a superpower of theirs because it makes it easy for them to be focused and get the job done quickly. So it's actually a superpower of theirs. And also diffuse awareness is a superpower for women because it means we can hold more, which is powerful. However, where diffuse awareness can be challenging is exactly what you said. It becomes difficult to be decisive. It becomes kind of difficult to be focused, especially if we're cycling and we're in the time of the month of the season where we are lower in estrogen and testosterone, because testosterone is the hormone that helps you be focused and decisive. And so you may find that at certain times of the month, you're able to be more decisive than others. And that's normal and that's okay. And sometimes you can plan for that and sometimes you can't. But it's all about self-awareness. And so if I know I need to make some decisions about something, I'll make sure to make those decisions in the morning because my testosterone and estrogen levels are higher in the morning, which means it's easier for me to be decisive in the morning from a chemical hormonal standpoint. Conversely, if I have something that I really want to be like open-hearted and intuitive and creative around and make my decision that way, if that's what my body's telling me to do, I do that in the evening because my intuition's more open because my analytical filters are down, just because that's how the hormones work every day, so even during the day your hormones fluctuate. So hopefully that answers your question. And at the end of the day, I think it's like, I don't give you that information to use that as like a limiting belief. Like, don't use that as an excuse. That information is meant to be empowering, because then it allows you to like know yourself and be compassionate with yourself, and also train yourself to be decisive and to build the skill set, Hi, Stephanie. Thanks for joining. All right, so that is it. So like I said, I'm going to post the link for the Dharma Queens community here, and I look forward to seeing you there. And that is, once again, 12 p.m. Pacific on Friday in the Dharma Queens group. My live stream called Intuitive Discernment. It's going to be amazing. So bring friends. I'll see you there. And of course, we're going to be going live on Sunday, 5 o'clock in the Dharma Queens Facebook group for my weekly Dharma Queen Sunday service. So mark your calendar for that every week, as well as, except May 19th, because I'll be in my live event then. So maybe I'll find someone to cover it that week. Anyway, thinking out loud. Other than that, every Tuesday, right here in the Dharma Talk Tuesday chair, 5 o'clock. 6 o'clock. I'm getting all mixed up right now. 6 o'clock Pacific every Tuesday. I'm sending you so much love, and I will see you on Friday. Bye.